Welcome back to the Female CEO Summit. I'm your host, Janine Worth, trauma expert, helping female entrepreneurs to heal so that they can have the spectacular success that they desire. So I'm really excited to be speaking with Elena Bensonoff today. She's the author of Wholistic Wisdom, Awakening Your Inner Healing, internationally renowned holistic teacher with over 20 years of experience in the field of functional and energy medicine. Welcome, Elena. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Hi, Janine. Thank you so much for having me on your summit.
So, before we get started on the concept of holistic health, can you please tell us about your own entrepreneurial journey and how you got onto this path of functional and energy medicine?
Yes, I'll be happy to share. So actually, my path started when I was a little girl, and I actually was very sick as a child. I suffered from ear infections, pneumonia, bronchitis, and so I've had all kinds of area of issues, health issues. And then as I grew older, of course, I was fine. And then it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s that I developed, and I had my first son, that I actually developed severe asthma. And it was to the point that my lungs were functioning at less than 25%.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, well, and I remember going to the doctor, rushed to the clinic, and he told me I'd have to take 6 medications for the rest of my life and then visit him weekly to measure my lung capacity. And over the first couple of weeks or months, he said, well, I don't see any improvement, and I can't imagine you actually getting better. And I asked him if this is going to be my reality, my everyday life. And he said, yes. So I decided, so even though I was trained as a pharmacist, I actually started to put a couple of things together, realizing that this is definitely not the way I want to live my life. And I mean, it was like exhausting just walking, because you not only could you not inhale, I couldn't even exhale. And that was really scary. And so I had to adjust my diet, my dietary habits. Of course, I found out that we lived in a house that was infested with mold. And at that time, I didn't know the correlation. This was over 20 years ago. I did not know the correlation between any of it, because in pharmacy school, none of us learned. And I know in medical school, doctors also don't learn about nutrition and how that impacts our body, our mind, our state of being, as well as our environmental factors. So this was sort of like a new journey of healing myself, figuring out how everything is truly connected. And then it wasn't until about 2007 that I was introduced to the world of functional medicine. And that's truly when my awakening process completely started. Because there was drips here and there throughout the journey, but it wasn't until 2007 that a lot of pieces started coming together. And what was interesting to me is learning and understanding that, yes, we can get people off of the medications, that was not the necessary path. And by that point, I already was asthma free. So I got myself off of all the meds, and I was asthma free. Actually, I have been asthma free for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
And yes, I remember thinking years ago, like I could never go to the gym. And for me, moving my body is very important. So I couldn't even comprehend how that would be possible, never mind raising the children, right? And working and doing all the other things. So, but during the fellowship, what happened is one of the cardiologists had us get up and practice something that's called Qigong. And that was the first time that I recognized that there is something much greater than our physical body, and that was the energy. And I was impressed that it was coming from a cardiologist that was actually teaching it to us. And so that kind of sparked my curiosity. I'm very curious by nature. I want to know and follow the path of what feels right, what feels true. And that really began as my awakening, biggest awakening process into what I do today. And at that time, I was working in a compounding pharmacy and a diabetes clinic, actually, around the same time. And seeing how many people were struggling, suffering, I just thought there had to be something else. There's something else that we have to do to feel better. But it's about actually taking responsibility for our own health, and also recognizing that it's not something outside of ourselves that's going to fix us, because that's how I was trained. And this is actually how majority of people who go to doctor's offices or any practitioner are viewing healthcare system as it's actually broken, because we're viewing it as, this is what's wrong with me, fix me, versus, okay, what tools do you have for me that I can incorporate into my everyday life to heal myself? And that's really the biggest conversation that needs to happen.
Wow, that's an amazing story. And I love the fact that you bringing it into people's awareness that they are actually the star of the show in their own health,
Yes.
So what is the biggest misconception that you've seen people have about their health?
Well, this is the number one step, is the cure versus healing. And this is the question that I've posed to most of the people that have come to work with me over the years. People will come to me, not any longer, but years ago, people would come and say, oh, you are the healer I've been looking for. And I would say, absolutely not. You are the healer you've been looking for. I'm not the one. I'm here to just give you the tools and the guidance and support to help you awaken all those gifts that you have within you. So the biggest misconception is somebody else is going to come and save you.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, this is a different conversation we need to begin having with ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. So I've heard you say that you want people to become friends with their illness. What do you mean by that?
Yes. So embracing illness, actually every illness is an opportunity to figure out what is happening within our system. And I'll break it down really quickly. So if we imagine that our mind, okay, is the CEO of a company, we'll break it down into a company. And the employees are sort of like the organ systems, right? Or the organs, the hormones in our body. And the vision and mission of the company is kind of the soul aspect. So in order for the mind or the CEO to focus on the soul aspect or the vision and mission of a company, there has to be absolute flow and balance within the system. That means the employees have to be working in harmony in order to focus on something much bigger. When there's chaos in the company amongst employees, meaning there is imbalance in our body, our organs are not communicating properly because there's so much inflammation that's happening. The last thing we're going to focus on is our soul's mission and our purpose here.
Yes.
So it's important to create harmony and balance within our system in order to focus on everything else. So what do I mean by becoming friends? That means our body is communicating to us in very powerful ways through feelings, emotions, and it's important to listen to them. And I know that majority of us have been trained to put it aside, to kind of park it somewhere else of ourselves, right? And what happens is we actually park it in our organ systems, and our organs, our tissues have memory, very powerful memories. So what happens is eventually the things we've parked and not dealt with, they're going to let us know and come up at times when we are most stressed. And that's when things show up in our life. So instead of saying, oh, why is this happening to me, right? Why am I feeling so exhausted, right? Or stressed out? Actually embracing it and saying, that's my greatest gift, that I'm able to tap in. What is a symptom trying to tell me about really what's happening in my body? Because it's sort of like your alarm system. In the car we have the red alarms that will go on and show us, something is broken down, maybe your tires or the engine. We have alarms that are going off. And within our body, our emotions and our symptoms are a great way of indicating what's happening to us. So becoming friends with what's happening to ourselves is actually one of the greatest gifts that we have.
Yeah, I completely resonate with that, because that's what I tell my clients as well. Certain behaviors and especially secondary symptoms there's a reason for that. Your mind's trying to communicate with you and show you, make you aware of the fact that there's issues in your attic that need to be cleaned out so that you can move forward. So I really love the way that you explained that. So let's talk about women and their hormonal health. What should women be aware of when it comes to the topic of hormones, going into that age of maybe end of their 30s, into that premenopausal sort of phase?
Yes. So I would say number one, it's important to clear our digestive system, because in order for the hormones to function properly, we need to make sure that our GI tract, our gut health is absolutely balanced, that our detox organs are working properly. So it's crucial to reevaluate your lifestyle and your diet, cut down on as much alcohol as possible. I know that in my practice over the years, I've seen a lot of women drinking, I would say a lot of alcohol, a glass of wine here and there, but it accumulates. If you're having alcohol daily, this needs to be reevaluated. It will impact your gut health, and it will actually impact your hormones as well. Second thing after, and I talk about this in my book and in my course as well, the second thing is, of course, making sure that your adrenal glands are functioning properly. And that means if you are stressed, and this is majority of population in Europe, United States, Australia, wherever you are, majority of us are operating on high cortisol level. We don't have limitless supply of cortisol. So what happens is we end up crashing. We're overworking, overdoing, and then crashing. So it's important to support your adrenal function. And of course, there are tests that you can take. They're easy. You can do a saliva, 4-point saliva test to make sure, if you want to know what level of adrenal fatigue you're in. So it's crucial to support your gut first, your adrenals, making sure your liver, your kidneys, and your lymph are working properly. Moving your body every day is important. And then as far as hormones, there's some women, of course, that are taking birth control pills. And that's a separate conversation altogether. The couple of things I will say, that it does block your sex hormone binding globulin. So for women and also decreases your testosterone levels. So for women who are on birth control pill for different reasons, of course, and you have to speak with your practitioner, it's important to also note that it does deplete your adrenal glands. It does mess with your gut health. And also it blocks your thyroid. So if you're having hypothyroidism or any kind of thyroid issues, I would look into your birth control pill as a culprit to that. So that's an important aspect to reevaluate. Of course, there are spirals that women, diaphragms that are inserted that have hormones as well. So they do mess with kind of the same things as well. For those women that are interested in natural hormone replacement, you have to make sure that you speak with the right kind of practitioner that is trained in this medicine, that knows what they're doing, and they have years of experience doing it. Of course, there's pellet therapy, and there's all kinds of contraindications with that as well. With pellets, you actually cannot remove them, so they actually stay in your system.
Wow.
Yes. So this is another thing to consider.
Well, that's so interesting. I could speak to you about hours about that. So, what supplements would you recommend to female entrepreneurs to combat fatigue and burnout? Because especially when women start out in their business, they're obviously trying to make as much progress as possible, working long hours. Again, that cortisol and stress comes into play.
Yes.
What?
So before, I would say two things. Before I would suggest any supplements, I would suggest taking a break throughout the day to give yourself time to kind of go within. At least 10 minutes twice a day. It's very important to give yourself a break, because it's very, very easy to burn out. Reevaluating your diet is important, and not all supplements are created equal. This is something that I found out over the years working in the field that I work in. And I'm not here to promote any one company. I actually, in my practice, don't work with one company. I work with over 30 different companies, and there is a reason for that, because all supplements are not created equal, and they're not equal for every person. So everything has to be a perfect match for that particular person. So, for example, probiotics are very important. As far as adrenal fatigue, there's several things that a person would need. But again, there's 3 stages of adrenal fatigue. So it's not that there's one particular supplement that works for everybody. For example, some people probably have heard of ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen. It's an herb. It works for some people, but not everyone. And let's say that there are certain people that are actually sensitive to nightshades. Ashwagandha belongs to the family of nightshades. So if you have sensitivity to nightshades, that would not be the right supplement for you.
Yes.
Vitamin D is crucial. Majority of population are low in vitamin D. And what's interesting is I live in Florida, and we have tons of sunshine, but actually our state is one of the lowest in the levels of vitamin D. And then people will ask me, well, what is the healthy vitamin D levels? So the research shows anything above 60, 65 is a breast cancer prevention. So you want to make sure that your vitamin D level on your blood test is above 60. This is very important. If there's something you're going to test, this is one of the things to definitely test for.
Yes, I can't agree with that more, because even as early as 20 years ago, people were being misdiagnosed and giving, in the field of psychology, being given antidepressants and mind or mood altering medication. And in reality, it was vitamin D deficiency. So when someone comes to me in my practice and says, okay, well, they think they have depression, I always order a blood panel first to look at their vitamin D levels, because I myself had the experience where my value dropped down to 25.
Yes. And
And
you just brought an important topic too on depression. And I want to say something very important. Actually, the most important neurotransmitter, our happy neurotransmitter, 95% of it is made in the gut. So if you're abusing your body, eating junk food, skipping meals, not taking care of your body properly, most likely you're going to be deficient in 5-HTP, which is serotonin. And most of it is made in the gut, not in the brain.
yes, and so I think that people very often underestimate how important it is to have these levels at an optimum, sort of keep it at an optimum constant, because I usually get that surprise look. I'm telling you I'm depressed. Why do you want to check my vitamin levels? And I'm like, believe me, there's a reason, and those symptoms will make you feel like you are depressed. So
Yeah.
that's so
Magnesium is another great supplement, because it has over 300 functions in our body. So that would be another supplement that I would definitely recommend.
Yes. So can you please share with us, what are energy leaks, and how would one know that this is an issue?
Okay. So let's say you are working with, or you're going into a meeting, or you're going into your children's school, and there's all kinds of people, right, in the room, and you leave the room and you're exhausted. So this is a way, kind of your alarm system and from an energy perspective, to show you that you are leaking energy. And I would say that is, if you're feeling like you're crashing out of nowhere, it's not like you've done anything, but you are around large groups of people, this is definitely a great way to check in with yourself. Or you're around a friend, perhaps, that's draining you, right? What I've noticed for myself over the years, when I sit on social media doing my own marketing, that
Yes.
drains me. So cell phones drain you.
That's so interesting. I've often heard people use the term energy vampires, where people who are just so negative and always complaining, spending time with them actually just drains your energy so much that you just feel like, wow, that was now I need to go do something to get my energy level up again.
And, we're talking to women right now who have their own businesses. So this is very important when you have your own business to create boundaries. Whether you work for someone or you work for yourself, it's crucial to create, I would say, a bubble of positive energy and surround yourself with people who are contributing to your well-being and not depleting you. So this is a great way. I would say, don't view things as negative. This is actually a positive alarm system that tells you, okay, there's a boundary that needs to be set. Perhaps that has not been addressed yet.
I love that, because it's a big topic in my practice as well, is teaching women boundaries, that you can be kind and still say no.
Yes. I know for me, I had to learn this. It's not an easy lesson, but it's a very important one.
Yes, because we're always taught from our childhood that you should put other people first, always try to help. And we then basically train ourselves to overdo it a bit.
Yes.
So you wrote a cookbook for detoxing. What are the biggest mistakes you see people make when it comes to nutrition, especially in regards to inflammation in the body?
Okay, one thing I want to say, there's not one diet that works for all, and I personally don't believe in diets. I believe in listening to your body and what your body feels and connects to. Of course, we're not talking about junk food and sugars,
Yes.
But, the reason I created this little cookbook, it's actually part of my online course, is because when I teach people over the years how to, if they're sensitive to certain foods, let's say dairy, gluten for a lot of people. And again, these are not allergies, these are food sensitivities. Sugar is a big thing, corn, right? Nightshades. Then people will say to me, well, what do I eat? How do I cook now?
Mm.
So the reason I came up with these recipes is because not only for those people, this is what I do in my own home every single day. So I felt that it was time to share, and I wanted people to have the right substitutes and good recipes that they could use and cook with. Cooking is easy.
Yeah.
And we make more of it than it really is, but it really is easy. We just have to be prepared. Go shop, grocery shopping, have the ingredients, and then it's
Yes. No,
and enjoy it.
I completely agree with that, because I teach my clients that food preparation, I like to do my own on a Sunday afternoon. That is actually a form of self-care.
Yes.
And I think that often people don't realize how important it is to take those 2 hours to decide, this is how I'm going to nourish my body this week.
Another big misconception that I want to briefly talk about is juicing. I've had over the years many people that came to me with severe fungus, candida overgrowth, and that usually happens when people are constantly drinking fruit juices, having tons of fruits throughout the day and smoothies and nothing else. So this is definitely I would say, a pretty chronic issue for across the board for busy people, because that's the first thing they kind of gravitate towards, because it's an easy thing to have. But
Yes.
actually, it's one of the worst things to have. If you have it just as an add-on to the rest of your day, healthy meals, but just to drink juices, morning, day, and night is absolutely not healthy.
Yes.
So
I think
sugar.
I think it's also, these trends or fads that people see online, where they see maybe influencers or that promoting these products, or starting the day with a smoothie every day, and then they think, okay, well, if this person is doing that, then I should be doing that as well. Often not realizing that that person's actually getting paid to push that product, and it doesn't mean that it's now the right product for you.
And now the amount of I have people that are coming to me. I had a couple of people that came with oozing scars on their body,
Wow.
scary eczema to the point that it's devastating. And I would say, what are you eating? Oh, I've been having acai bowls 3 times a day. I mean, the amount of sugar, it's terrible, and it crashes your adrenal glands actually.
Yes. Wow. What is one thing that women can do today to improve their gut health?
Wow, that's a complicated, it's a big question because it's a big topic. I would say eliminate foods that are creating an imbalance in your diet, or imbalance in your gut. So I would say eliminate inflammatory foods, so sugar, right? And if you're having a lot of fruit throughout the day, definitely get rid of that. If you're drinking alcohol daily, stop it. And wine is not a go-to stress relief at the end of the day.
Oh, I know a lot of people are going to be like, I don't know what she's talking about.
Right, right. Yes.
So, tell us a bit about your own morning routine.
Mm. So my morning starts off always with water and lemon water and probiotics. And then I actually go to the gym and I do something for 30 minutes. It could be a combination of a little bit of cardio and weights. So that's kind of my morning. Usually before I get up, I always imagine and connect to my heart and gratitude for my children, my family, my loved ones, and then sending just love out to the world. That's important for me. And then eating breakfast with my kids. Right now it's summertime, so it's a little our schedules are a little bit different, but it varies depending on school year. If it's a school year, then of course we have breakfast and then driving to school and then beginning my work day after that.
Okay. What is a typical breakfast for you?
Usually, actually, it's pretty similar. 2 eggs, arugula leaves, avocado, and a couple of olives, and a cup of tea.
Sounds good.
It's my favorite breakfast.
I also prefer a more savory breakfast. I usually don't eat really early. I eat a bit later in the day, but it's usually a savory, like eggs or, some sort of vegetable or,
Yes,
So you have a gift for our audience. Can you please tell us about that?
I do. I'm excited. Many years, clients that I worked with had asked me to put something together that can help them navigate their busy lives. And not everyone can come and see me every day, and I would never want that, because I want people to be self-sufficient healers anyway and be able to tune into their body. So I've actually created a free masterclass. It's an hour masterclass where I teach people how to, using kinesiology, how you can tap in and muscle test yourself in less than 1 minute and find out what kind of food sensitivity you have, which is very helpful.
That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yes. Then I teach breathing exercise, how to balance between your mind and your heart, so how to stay centered. And then also how to tune in using color light therapy without having, color light wands. Some people have the color light that they can use, but you don't have to, because really all of the gifts we have within ourselves. So imagining, I talk about the governing vessel, which is where the life force energy flows through. And it's using a very specific light that you imagine and bringing that through your whole system. And it takes maybe a couple of minutes to do that, but it's a wonderful way to bring balance into your whole system.
That sounds amazing. So we're definitely going to link that for everyone. You also have a Facebook group. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, my Facebook group is called Wholistic Inc., stands for Incorporated. It's where I post all my latest things, my inspirations, things that inspire me, meditations that I create, any kind of special things that are going on in my life. And it's a way of having a healthy conversation that is inspiring, positive, loving. And I want people to know that they can reach out to me, and I'm the one answering all the questions.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
So what is the best advice that you've ever received?
Best advice: to always follow my heart and be courageous to love, to share the love, and actually receive the love.
Mm. That's so important. I think a lot of people sometimes don't know how to receive it properly.
Yes. You know, for me, it was my mom passed away 2 years ago, and that was one of the things we talked about a lot at the end. She was very young. She was 63. She didn't retire. She worked a lot, and it was very unexpected. She died. She had stomach cancer, and at the end, you know, she said to me, "There's very few things that really we're only here to do one thing: is to really enjoy it, enjoy this journey, love and be loved, and that's it."
Yeah.
Because everything else is irrelevant. The work that we do is great. It's a great message, it's contribution, whatever it is that we do, but we should never neglect and forget about who we are, and really that we're here to share the love.
Oh, wow. What a powerful message to pass
Yeah.
on. So, what is the best way for our viewers to reach out to you if they want to work with you?
Yes, they can go on my website, wholistic.com with a W,
Mm-hmm.
and reach out.
Perfect. So, usually I like to ask, what is one book that you could recommend to female entrepreneurs? But seeing as you've actually written your own book, why don't you instead tell us about the book that you wrote?
Yes, thank you. So I wrote my book again because I felt it was time to give this information to people, because I feel that every human being deserves to know the truth, deserves to have the tools needed to do this work. And so it's a collection of all of the tools that I've kind of put together to give to people where they can do it themselves.
That sounds amazing.
And it's broken down into 3 parts: the body, mind, emotions, and the soul.
Oh, that sounds fabulous.
Mm.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I really appreciate that.
Thank
And I
you, Jen.
think that you've certainly sparked these ideas in women to start taking a more active role in their health and realizing that they are part of the solution.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So join us again tomorrow as we continue the conversation with these amazing speakers, teaching you all the tools that you need to have the life and business of your dreams. Until then, bye.
Bye.